Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Golden Bachelorette Chock Chapple shares his big lie. The Golden Bachelorette had its first finale on Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. There, Joan made her decision as to who she wanted to spend her life with, and it was Chock Chapple. He ended up popping the question with a gorgeous Neil Lane ring, and as transparent as Chock was this season, he had one big lie. So what did he fib about? Keep reading for all of the details. Chock Chapple shares his big lie. From the moment that Chock Chapple and Joan went on their first solo date to Disneyland, it was clear there was chemistry. They clicked, and she felt like a princess with him. Then he learned that his mother had passed away, and he abruptly left. This was devastating to Joan for more than one reason. First off, her own mom was ill, so she could sympathize with what Chock was going through. Then, there was the fact that she connected deeply with him and hated to see him leave. Fortunately for Joan, by the end of that Golden Bachelorette episode, Chock was back for his woman as if nothing had ever happened. Some fans started to feel a possessiveness from Chock and were not as into him as they initially had been. However, he made it to the final three, and then Pascal Abbey self-eliminated, so he was in the final two. Joan eliminated Guy Gansard and chose Chock. Now they are engaged, but has he been hiding something from his close friends? According to People, Chock Chapple had to come up with a lie so he and Joan could meet in California after they got engaged. Obviously, they had to keep it a secret from most of the world, but friends are not privy to this information. Therefore, Chock came up with a very creative and interesting lie to justify his extensive travel schedule. The endgame: no, he is not an underwear model, but Chock Chapple is a reality star thanks to the Golden Bachelorette. He became the first winner of this franchise, and they are now casting for the Golden Bachelor. As for California, there will be no more rendezvous on the West Coast. Chock is based in Kansas as an insurance executive, whereas Joan lives in Maryland. So they have decided to get a place in New York City where they can meet up, per Chock. They will spend the holidays as a complete family in Maryland, and the rest will come in time. It was a crisp evening on the Golden Bachelorette, and the spotlight was firmly set on Chock Chapple, the charming widower from Charleston with his signature Southern drawl and disarming smile. Throughout the season, Chock had managed to sweep Joan and viewers alike off their feet with his poetic musings and heartfelt tales of lost love. But as the competition tightened and the hometown dates loomed, Chock's carefully crafted image was about to take a sharp turn. The perfect gentleman. From the start, Chock's story tugged at the heartstrings. A retired firefighter who dedicated his life to saving others, he claimed to have lost his wife tragically a decade ago. "She was the love of my life," he had said during a particularly emotional confessional, wiping away tears that seemed far too genuine to question. The audience adored him, and so did Joan. The 63-year-old beauty had openly admitted that Chock reminded her of her late husband. There was a quiet strength about him, a resilience that spoke to the depth of his character. But in the world of reality TV, the deeper the roots, the darker the shadows that can lurk beneath. A mysterious rumor. Whispers began circulating after episode 6, when Chock's hometown footage mysteriously didn't air. While the other contestants showcased warm reunions with family and friends, Chock's segment featured a vague montage of Charleston landmarks, overlaid with his poetic voice describing a life built on love, sacrifice, and forgiveness. Bachelor Nation fans took to social media with theories. Some speculated he was protecting his family's privacy, while others wondered if something darker was at play. One sharp-eyed fan even pointed out inconsistencies in Chock's timeline. He said he lost his wife 10 years ago, but his social media has pictures of him celebrating an anniversary 6 years ago. The fan wrote on Reddit. The post gained traction, and soon enough, sleuths uncovered old photos of Chock at a wedding, his wedding, dated far more recently than his widow narrative allowed. Joan's heartfelt confusion. Unaware of the storm brewing online, Joan continued to grow closer to Chock. In a candid moment, she admitted to feeling something she hadn't in years, the promise of a future. "He makes me feel safe, like I'm not alone anymore," she told producers, her eyes sparkling with hope. But behind the scenes, the producers were grappling with a dilemma. Should they confront Chock and risk derailing the show's momentum? Or let Joan and the viewers discover the truth in real time? As always in Bachelor Nation, drama trumped discretion. The confrontation. The next rose ceremony was unlike any other. Joan stood at the center, radiant in a gold gown, ready to hand out her roses. But just as she called Chock's name, host Jess Palmer walked in, his expression uncharacteristically grave. "Joan, I need to speak with you for a moment," he said, pulling her aside. The cameras followed as he delicately explained the situation. Joan's face transitioned from confusion to shock to a quiet, simmering anger. Returning to the group, Joan's demeanor had transformed. She fixed Chock with a steady gaze and said, "Chock, there's something we need to talk about. Right now." Chock's confession. Under the weight of Joan's gaze and the expectant silence of his competitors, Chock finally crumbled. "You're right, Joan," he began, his voice shaking slightly. "There's something I haven't been entirely honest about." The room tensed. Even the typically unflappable Jessie seemed to lean forward, anticipating the bombshell. "I am not a widower," Chock admitted, his words tumbling out in a rush. "My wife, Marianne, is alive. We separated 8 years ago, but the divorce was only finalized recently. I didn't know how to explain it, so I didn't." The gasp that rippled through the room was almost audible through the screen. Joan's lips pressed into a thin line as she listened, her expression unreadable. "I never meant to lie," Chock continued, his voice pleading. "But when I heard the other men's stories, when I saw how much loss you've experienced, Joan, I thought my truth wouldn't measure up, so I embellished. And then it snowballed." Joan's reaction. For a long moment, Joan said nothing. Then she looked at Jessie. "Can I have a moment with Chock?" The other men reluctantly filed out, leaving Joan and Chock alone. "You didn't just lie to me," Joan said, her voice steady but tinged with hurt. "You lied to everyone. To the other men, to the audience, to yourself. How am I supposed to trust anything you've said to me?" Chock's shoulders slumped. "I know I've broken your trust. But Joan, everything else. What I feel for you, the connection we've built, that's real. Please give me a chance to prove it to you." The fallout. The producers had a field day editing the fallout, splicing dramatic music with tearful confessions from Joan and stunned reactions from the other contestants. Social media exploded. Some fans defended Chock, arguing that his lie was a misguided attempt to connect. Others demanded he be removed from the show entirely. Memes of Jess Palmer's shocked expression flooded Twitter, with captions like, "When your backstory doesn't pass the fact-checker." Redemption or rejection. In the next episode, Joan faced the daunting task of deciding whether Chock deserved a second chance. "I came here looking for honesty," she said during a confessional. "But I also believe people are more than their mistakes. The question is, can I believe him now?" Chock, meanwhile, attempted to redeem himself by opening up fully about his life. He shared his struggles with loneliness after his separation, the guilt he felt over not being able to make his marriage work, and his desire to start fresh. "I'm not perfect," he told Joan during a one-on-one conversation, "but I want to be better. For you?" The cliffhanger. In true Bachelor Nation fashion, the episode ended on a cliffhanger. Joan stood at the rose ceremony, holding the final rose. Chock was among the last 2 men, his future hanging by a thread. "Chock," Joan began, her voice steady but her eyes filled with emotion. The screen cut to black before her decision was revealed, leading fans to speculate endlessly until the next episode. What's next for Chock? Whether Joan ultimately forgives Chock or sends him packing, one thing is certain: his big lie will go down as one of the most dramatic moments in Golden Bachelorette history. Some fans have already started campaigning for Chock to be the next Golden Bachelor, arguing that his flaws make him more relatable. Others think he should step away from reality TV altogether and focus on finding redemption in his personal life. As for Chock, he seems to have taken the controversy in stride. In a teaser for the upcoming Men Tell All special, he's seen saying, "I made mistakes, but I'm not a bad guy. I just hope Joan knows that." Whether America believes him or forgives him is another story altogether.